Imagine the world at the dawn of the 20th century, a complex web of alliances and rivalries, a powder keg waiting to explode. Europe was a stage set for a grand drama. The major powers, including Great Britain, France, Russia, and Germany, were entangled in a delicate dance of diplomacy and saber-rattling. These alliances, like the Triple Entente and the Central Powers, were a double-edged sword. They offered protection, but also promised retaliation if one member was attacked. Tensions were high and trust was low. The air was thick with the scent of impending conflict. And then in June of 1914, a spark ignited the tinderbox. The Archduke of Austria-Hungary, Franz Ferdinand, was assassinated. This single event, a bullet fired by a Serbian nationalist, was the catalyst that plunged the world into the chaos of war. With one bullet, the world was set ablaze. In the summer of 1914, the world was plunged into the deadliest conflict it had ever seen. The First World War, as we now call it, was marked by an unprecedented mobilization of troops. Millions of men from across the globe were called to arms, leaving their homes, their families, their lives behind. They marched off to war with a sense of optimism, a belief that this would be a quick conflict, a swift victory. The Western Front and the Eastern Front emerged as the main theaters of war. The vast, sprawling landscapes of Europe transformed into battlegrounds, the quiet countryside echoing with the cacophony of gunfire and artillery. Here, nations clashed, ideologies battled, and the world as we knew it was irrevocably changed. But as the war dragged on, it became clear that this was not going to be a swift victory for either side. The optimism of the summer of 1914 faded as the reality of a long, grueling conflict set in. As the war settled into a stalemate, the grim reality of trench warfare emerged. Imagine living in a maze of ditches, often filled with water, mud, and the unbearable stench of decay. This was the harsh reality for soldiers on the front lines. Amidst these squalid conditions, soldiers also faced the threat of new, deadly technologies. Machine guns, hitherto unseen in warfare, mowed down soldiers in their hundreds, while poison gas, a silent and invisible killer, brought a new dimension of terror to the battlefield. The scale of loss was staggering. Men were not just dying, they were being obliterated, their lives extinguished in the most horrific ways imaginable. This was the true face of trench warfare, a grinding, relentless machine that consumed human lives with chilling efficiency. The trenches became a symbol of the war's futility and the senseless waste of human life. In 1918, after 4 long, bloody years, the war finally came to an end. The entry of the United States into the war in 1917 marked a crucial turning point. With fresh troops and resources, the Allies were able to launch a series of final offensives against the Central Powers. These offensives, combined with internal unrest and a crippling blockade, led to the eventual collapse of the Central Powers. On November 11, 1918, the armistice was signed, bringing an end to the fighting on the Western Front. But the cost of the war was staggering. More than 9 million soldiers had lost their lives. Entire cities lay in ruins. The economies of Europe were shattered. The war had not only redrawn the map of the world but also left deep scars on the collective human psyche. The world had forever been changed by the war to end all wars. In the aftermath of the war, the world was left to grapple with its implications. The grand illusion of honor and glory in battle was shattered, replaced by a profound disillusionment that swept across nations. The First World War marked an era of social upheaval, as people questioned the very fabric of societal structures that had led them into such devastation. Unchecked nationalism, once seen as a hallmark of patriotism, was now recognized as a dangerous precipice, pushing nations towards conflict. The war also laid bare the horrors of modern warfare, forever changing our understanding of conflict. Trenches filled with soldiers, gas attacks, and the unprecedented loss of life painted a grim picture of a world in chaos. Yet, amid the ashes of war, the seeds of international cooperation were sown. The establishment of the League of Nations marked an attempt to foster dialogue over discord, peace over war. In the shadows of the Great War, the world was left to ponder. Could such a catastrophe be prevented in the future?